Hey YouTube, today we are going to be watching why the world without sharks might be your biggest nightmare. This is by Casual Geographic.
Remember when I
Then my
said I'd
boy
show a
right
cactus
there.
my uvula before I go out into the ocean? Yeah, it was a tough cactus.
Tough cactus. No.
I went swimming with sharks to see them in person and instead almost saw Steve Irwin. Shout out to the
Oh,
GOAT.
it's
That aside, I'm
wow,
gonna
bro.
make you like sharks in this video, but before
Almost saw
things get
Steve
better,
over.
first they gotta
Chill.
get worse, so thalassophobic's warning, here's the part where it hurts.
The fuck is that? What is that, bro?
Honest question, has there ever been a horror movie about jellyfish? It's not like
What's a
Poseidon didn't flush a
jellyfish?
metric ton of source material. You're looking at, unironically, one of the worst sights in nature. A
Fuck
jellyfish
that,
bloom.
bro.
It's a
Could you
problem for many
imagine?
reasons. One, it's basically a
Could you imagine falling in this? You're cooked. You're cooked. You're probably
bomb
gonna
from
get stung to
Shaitan, but
death,
also
bro.
because it's one of the last signs the ocean gives before it hits the point of no return. When a part of Neptune's
Jesus.
neighborhood falls apart and can't support the animals in it, the last step usually involves getting gentrified by jellyfish, since the same conditions that are unlivable for most are usually where Satan's shopping bags thrive. And don't think because you're on land you're safe. Not only have these blooms caused legit power
What?
outs, but about half of the oxygen on Earth comes from the same phytoplankton these blooms eat. So why am I talking about jellyfish in a video that was supposed to be about sharks? Well, if you're scared of one, you should probably thank the other. Sharks are the ocean equalizer, keeping other animals in line from their spot at the top of the food web. Near the top, we're getting to that. Basically,
Oh.
sharks eat the big fish, that would eat the little fish, that would eat the jellyfish polyps. The ocean is a Jenga tower, and sharks are the one block that can bring it all down.
Okay.
Now, it's not as simple as I just made it sound, where no sharks automatically means more ocean acne, but you really don't realize how fast the sea would fold without sharks. That is until you realize what their actual day looks like. Sharks aren't just the equalizer, they're the cleanup crew, mostly going around picking off the dead and dying. You won't see them chasing around small fry that probably aren't even worth it. The same way you probably wouldn't drive 45 minutes for a bag of chips. I hope. It's why, if you want to check your ego, swim in a shiver of sharks and watch how hard you get ignored like J-Lo in the Bronx.
J-Lo in the Bronx, bro. I'm not swimming with sharks. I'm not doing that shit. There's a lot of things I want, bro. I'm not doing that. I'm not fucking doing that.
I was
I'm not
surrounded
doing
by
that.
Galapagos sharks, and the closest I got to becoming a hashtag was the ocean slamming me against the bars like I owed it something. It was like an
Like the
MMA
bars.
cage match with Mother Nature that got way too personal. I wonder why. But yeah, the sharks could not care less about me. They really do treat you
Yeah,
like
but
an
no,
NPC.
I don't want
I
to try.
did
No,
learn
my
that because sharks can detect
bro.
electromagnetic
No, my luck. Nah, nigga. I do that. Put my hand. I'll go like this.
fields.
No,
If you
no,
stick a
I'm good.
GoPro deep enough, you can say you pooped a shark. Just know, that was the most action I got all day. If more people realized how often they get snubbed by sharks even when they're right under us,
Oh,
you'd
shit.
realize why you're statistically more likely to get flattened by a vending machine, KO'd by a coconut, or even past tense while putting socks on, than get mugged by a shark. It usually takes bad RNG or a surfer adopting
Oh,
the silhouette
shit.
of a seal. But why are sharks so scary actually? It sounds easy, it's a prehistoric predatory steroid
Jesus.
guppy with permateeth, but honestly I think it's deeper than
Whoa.
that.
What is that?
Easy, it's a prehistoric predatory steroid guppy with permateeth.
Nah, that's
But honestly,
crazy.
I think it's deeper than that. Sharks, snakes, and spiders. These are the arguably three most feared animals on Earth, and it's likely
Yeah, I don't
because
like
we're
spiders.
hardwired to be afraid of them. Snakes are legless, cold-blooded reptiles that even monkeys will throw stones at. On the other end, spiders have too many eyes, too many legs, and show up too many times in people's business to ever get good graces.
Oh,
Meanwhile,
you
sharks might just
fucking bitch.
represent the fear of the unknown. The ocean is an endless, uncaring void that could wipe you out in seconds with nothing you could do about it. And
Yeah,
projection's
I
a hell
don't-
of a drug since that unsettling
That's a
fear
shark?
often gets put
Nah,
on the
bro.
apex predators of that void. But that's a problem right there. You hear sharks and instantly think of another Jaws movie. So maybe you
Yeah.
should see the sharks that don't make the big screen. This is a zebra shark. It's a cinnamon roll of a fish that is somehow less of a threat than the trauma donkey.
Okay,
it's
that one
named
looks
after.
kinda
The
cute.
zebra shark is the beginning of sharks getting the sea dog allegations, and arguably the most dangerous thing about them is their front face. If nature wanted me to take the thresher shark seriously, they shouldn't have given them such an unserious pair of eyes.
Yeah,
It
for
does
real.
not matter what the situation is. Threshers will always look like they really need an adult.
They look like an
Now, they do
alien,
kill
bro.
prey by delivering soul-evicting slaps with that tail, but look at him. He's just a baby. I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff about the salmon shark, but honestly, all I can think of is that they're the baby Looney Tunes G-rated version of great whites. The epaulet is a shark with no regard for the laws of nature, using special fins to literally walk on land. And when sharks wake up with student loans, taxes, and only 2 weeks vacation, it's all gonna get traced back to him. This is a spinner shark, and even though it's hunting, I can't not laugh at how unserious this is.
Spinner
The nervous shark is literally named after how terrified they are of anything human. And whale sharks are unbelievably wholesome for a bus-sized fish.
I did not know there was whale sharks. But Jesus, look how big, look how fat that motherfucker is, bro.
Speaking of whale sharks, you got other plus-size filter feeders like the basking shark. They're
I
about
know
30
about
feet
that
long,
one.
the second biggest shark, and they're really only a threat to your mental health, especially since a lot of plesiosaur panic can get traced back to a dead baskie. Then there's the megamouth shark, which honestly probably would be scary if you didn't know it's also a giant krill-eating pushover that lives in the forgotten corners of the ocean.
Hello.
Then you got the sharks you forget are sharks.
Jesus. Could you imagine looking in there and that shit chops on you, bro?
Imagine you're at the shore and someone screams shark. Whole time they're pressed over a tasseled wabagong,
Oh,
a
wow.
type of carpet shark that takes the name literally by living its life as a homicidal rug. Here you have the smallest shark in the world, the lantern shark. There's the sawfish that... oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
well,
no.
apparently it's not actually a shark, it's a ray related to a shark. But don't worry, because this is an actual saw shark, because you know the riddle at this point is conducive to the same traits, that's convergent evolution. And you can't forget nurse sharks being so unproblematic and curious around people, scientists called it the Labrador of the sea. And I'm glad they did, because now we get to go down the rabbit hole of sharks being dogs and cats at the same time. The port beagle is a shark named after a porpoise, and a beagle.
Porpoise, okay.
Yeah, I don't get it either, but we'll get back to that. Dogfish were named after fishermen apparently watching them chase smaller prey in packs, like dogs. But some dogfish are also cat sharks, and they got their name from the vertical feline-coated eyes, like the small spotted cat shark.
That shit look creepy, bro. That shit looks creepy. I can't tell if that shit is eyes open or not,
And
bro.
they got their name from the vertical feline-coated eyes. Like the small spotted cat shark is also at the same time called the lesser spotted dogfish. Google says there's over 150 species of cat sharks, including the chain cat shark, or chain dogfish, because of course. Their biggest flex is they can glow green through biofluorescence.
Wow.
And they're not the only ones. It turns out over 50 species of sharks like kitefin and swell sharks can light up. That's about 10% of all sharks, and some actually use a light to hide. That might sound confusing, but if you're a predator in the crotch of the ocean, all you have to do is look up, and anything that looks like a shadow against the light of the sky is probably your next victim. However, if you can take a cue from a lightsaber, you can blend into the skylight and basically disappear. In fact, counter shading is a concept most sharks borrow from, and it basically means if you're above them, then the darker roof blends into the dark of the abyss, but if you're under them, the light underbelly matches the sunlight hitting the water. And when you think about it, a lot of animals use this strat to avoid problems. But some take it a step further, because scalloped hammerheads are scientifically proven to tan themselves if they sit in shallow, sun-exposed water. Some say recruiting melanin is nature's way of keeping them from getting eaten by their own kind, by making it easier for the smaller babies to hide. We got a little off track, I won't apologize for it, but the point is, if you're still afraid of sharks, then maybe you should subvert your expectations. Especially since some sharks aren't even full-time predators. The bonnethead shark is like a hammerhead with performance anxiety. It's also an omnivore that eats seagrass, and in experiments, 60% of its diet included the green stuff. Whale sharks are also partly grass-fueled, and a study from Forbes found that half of what goes through them are plants like algae and sargassum.
I always just be scared, bro, because imagine that shit you don't see that shit, and you just get swallowed up, bro.
Okay, so maybe you're still afraid of sharks. Maybe it'd help if you knew what are sharks afraid of. There's only one thing that can send the Star of Jaws packing, and you already know it's orcas. Killer whales are known to mutilate great whites for their livers, and often that's all they take. The sharks have been so beaten down that Monterey-based scientists found that great whites off Farallon Islands will abandon their favorite hunting grounds for up to a year if they run into the assault cetacean once.
Yeah, them
Researchers
orcas
have even started
is
playing sounds
devious.
of orcas on loop to keep sharks away from beaches. And imagine minding your own business and a hairless iPhone monkey plays your ops anthem.
iPhone monkey is crazy.
Dolphins and sea lions have been known to bully great whites by abusing the always superior power of friendship. Okay, now I just feel bad for them. Bull sharks are honestly the closest thing to the stereotype, and they have about the highest testosterone levels of any animal. Yeah, even more than a down bad elephant. And even the bull shark has fears, and its biggest are crocs. They often frequent the same waters, and the rageaholic of sharks gets a severe attitude adjustment just by smelling them. They've also gotten sent packing by hippos, but by far the strangest thing sharks are afraid of, yeah, I'm not even kidding. There is a very real rabbit hole of the most notorious underwater predators, getting pressed by some bubbles, with hammerheads and tiger
Bubbles.
sharks reportedly really uncomfortable with the bubbles from scuba tanks, and scientists even working on making bubble curtains to use as a type of bug spray, but for sharks. Which was funny until I realized dolphins probably just have them that messed up. If you want the
Jesus, that
definition of
dolphin look
irony, it's spending
creepy.
400 million plus years predator maxing just to get stressed by a SpongeBob scene transition. So play some orca opera and you'll keep sharks away, but the wrong playlist and you might just bring sharks to you. Sharks are attracted to heavy death metal music because apparently the vibrations and beats sound just like struggling or injured fish. Remember, sharks are like the morgue of the sea, and dive operators like Matt Waller will use music as a Batman symbol to attract sharks. Their favorites? According to him, AC/DC, You Shook Me All Night Long, and Back in Black are the best at getting their attention. So are certain colors, because for a while it was widely believed that the single worst color to wear if you're afraid of sharks is yellow. Matter of fact, it was nicknamed Yum Yum Yellow for how wearing it could turn you into a literal snack. The truth is, sharks are likely colorblind with only one color cone in their eye to R3, meaning they see the world in black, white, and shades of gray. Now what they can see is contrast, and anything that stands out against the ocean blue immediately gets their attention. The more you know. Now let me ask you a question. You think sharks get silly? Like you think in 400 million years of being alive, they figured out how to have fun? Well, remember the poor beagle? Scientists peeped that the shark named after a dog will roll around in kelp, toss it around like a football, and even take turns chasing each other. Gray reef sharks sink if they don't swim, so they'll often swim against current updrafts in order to surf and basically take a break from the whole just keep swimming thing. But what's crazy is they have a conveyor belt system where once one shark reaches the end of the line, it'll let the current carry it back to where it started. You could say it's just them saving energy, but is that not the same energy as this? Sharks have been fighting stereotypes like a boxing match for years, and the closest thing to an uppercut they got is the fact that sharks have friends. In 2023, researchers found that two great whites, Simon and Jekyll, had traveled more than 4,000 miles together after being first tagged off the coast of Georgia in 2022, eventually ending up in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, just off New Brunswick, Canada. It shows you how little we know about them, because a couple years ago, nobody would believe the final boss of sharks was down for a travel buddy. Shark scientist Yanis Papastamachiou linked up with researchers from the University of Hawaii, Exeter, and UC Santa Barbara to study reef sharks in the Palmyra Atoll to uncover the secret social circle of sharks. What they found was that these sharks have a literal social circle, with the same sharks hanging out together in the morning, separating and going about their business during the day, only to meet up again later. These shark groups even use the same part of the reef day after day like a high school lunch table, and these friend groups lasted the entire 4-year study, and it's not just reef sharks. By night, nurse sharks hunt alone, but during the day, they join cuddle parties of up to 40 in order to save energy. It must work, because white tips also power nap as a stack pack. Sand tigers are like sea coyotes, where they're fusion fishing. They have a close network of sharks they associate with, and even sharks they'll meet up with multiple times a year. Scientists now believe that if a shark has their version of a best friend, it's usually someone that's roughly the same size, the same sex, and about the same age, which would explain Simon and Jekyll. But now the real question is, can sharks form bonds with people? And the answer, like everything else, is complicated. Lemon sharks are not only famous for having favorite divers, but for getting jealous and overprotective when they see that diver around others. If a nurse shark is a Labrador, the lemon shark's a golden retriever with gills. Here's my thing now, sharks will form partnerships with other fish like remoras and pilotfish where they'll pick parasites off the shark, so this could just be a lemon guppy treating a person like any other cleaning service. Funny thing about pilotfish, sailors who saw them would swear they and sharks would act like close friends, and there's even stories of pilotfish chasing ships for weeks after they caught one of their sharks, apparently seeming distressed and anxious without him. And you probably wouldn't believe that if something like that didn't happen with a person. In 2001, shark conservationist Jim Abernathy removed a hook from the mouth of a tiger shark named Emma. 20 years and several more hooks later, and Jim and Emma might as well be a married couple, with Emma still recognizing and rushing up to Jim even after up to a year apart. And we're not talking about nurse or lemon sharks. That's
where humans be fucking up. Y'all here giving these wild ass creatures. Y'all here giving these wild animals fucking names, bro. I ain't doing that.
14-foot garbage disposal with the personality of a lapdog. We don't know for sure if sharks could feel affection like one, but it honestly wouldn't be a surprise, since sharks are intelligent enough to be trained like dogs. Eugenie Clark was an ichthyologist nicknamed Shark Lady, who taught lemon sharks how to push a target and ring a bell for food, and they even learned how to tell apart different shapes and colors. Some aquariums in the UK train sharks to roll over and respond to signals and commands the same way Pavlov conditioned dogs. And gray bamboo sharks also figured out how to tell apart different shapes, even when researchers tried tripping them up with optical illusions. And even after 50 weeks, they still remembered their training. But really shouldn't be a surprise. Sharks were around back when Saturn was bumping Beyonce and praying on a ring. Sharks are no dummies. You gotta respect that they might be the biggest flex nature ever made. Sharks can literally track your heartbeat through electroreception. They have a built-in GPS.
I did not know they could track humans' heart. I did not know they could track the heartbeat, bro. That's crazy.
Replaceable fluoride-coated teeth that can't get cavities. Some, like the Greenland shark, can live for a legit hundreds of years. You can find sharks at the very bottom of the ocean, under an active volcano, and even swimming in River Thames. And I honestly don't know what to be more impressed by. Really, the only weakness sharks have is they can be put in a trance-like paralysis just by getting rotated.
Wow.
The tonic immobility is usually triggered by pressing down on the snout, but sharks can induce it in some painfully awkward situations. Humans usually only put sharks on standby to study and tag them. Meanwhile, orcas do it to steal their organs like a black market merchant. This time, I'm not going to call them an oppressive Oreo, because we do something way worse. Shark finning is the practice of cutting off the fins and tossing the now mutilated shark back into the sea, where their only options to slowly drown or bleed to death. Depending on the shark, that can take an excruciating 2 hours. And this is a fate that follows not hundreds, but up to 100 million sharks a year.
That's
all for
crazy,
something Gordon
man.
Ramsay called mid. At the end of the day, we gaslit sharks like no animal has ever seen. We put up every World War combined numbers on them every trip around the sun. Meanwhile, sharks might get 10 on a good year. In fact, you can argue that for all the shark slander, humans have the highest KD ratio against them. No other wild animal gets done this dirty. Moral of the story? You know it's bad when the author of Jaws, Peter Benchley, would go on to regret writing it and dedicate the rest of his life to shark conservation. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you'd like to support me on Patreon, I'm gonna be posting the full GoPro footage of me swimming with sharks. Nothing too crazy. But other than that, make sure you drink water, hug your mother, RIP Peter Benchley, RIP Eugenie, and yeah, I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.
See you in the next one. Yeah, I remember this video, him dancing with the shark. Whoa.